What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So I know for many of you this is going to be good news. For some of you, you're not really going to care. For me, I'm kind of in between. I've mentioned this before when we covered off on some of the new quick clips we've gotten of the final season of Stranger Things. I haven't delved into the Stranger Things world. Every time I try to, I end up getting pulled away to watch something else, do something else. And then when I go back to get interested back in the show, I always end up thinking, okay, I'm going to start this all the way over again and try to watch it. And I always get pulled away. And I think I've only made it as far as probably episode 2 of season 1. So I am going to, however, I did mention in the previous video when we talked about Stranger Things, I am going to be binge watching the series ahead of the final season because I would like to do a episode by episode breakdown when they do the 3 volume releases over the holiday season later this year. But as we reported previously, and as I think many of us are coming to find out, just because this particular iteration or series of Stranger Things is ending, we know, and it's been talked about widely by the creators, that the Stranger Things universe isn't ending in any way, shape, or form. It sounds like they have a lot of plans for it, and here's one of them. Stranger Things Tales from '85 will aim to invoke the feeling of classic 1980s cartoons. Now, I think this can be very, very successful, and I think it could be obviously very hit or miss. Now, one of the things that we did see recently outside of horror was X-Men 97 made a comeback last year. It was, of course, again, that's outside of horror, but I'm just using it as an example. Made a comeback last year and was widely successful. The first season got a lot of praise, got greenlit for season 2. Now, of course, there was some behind the scenes controversy with the individual who did the writing and the directing of that animated series. He's now no longer involved with what's going to be happening with season 2. But again, that's just an example where, again, I think some of these things can be very hit or miss. For some people that hit on some nostalgia, and it was a nice, I don't want to say fully update, because again, they did have some nice callbacks to the styles from the 90s. Now, when you go back to 80s cartoons, that's where I think it's going to be a bit more niche of a product. And I don't know how many people, I mean, if this is any example of what it's going to look like, I don't know. I mean, your audience is going to be much smaller when it comes to the style of how cartoon. I'm an 80s kid, 90s kid, so I very much know and remember what those cartoons look like. I mean, I grew up with it, so of course I enjoyed it. But I think with a younger audience today, they may not. And I think what might get them interested in it is just the fact that it's Stranger Things, right? So let's jump into the details of this, see what we might start to learn about this, because it seems like this might be the first project that's going to be coming out of this universe for Stranger Things once the current show comes to a conclusion. So while we wait for the arrival of Stranger Things 5 in November, which will be the show's final season, keep in mind that the universe of Stranger Things doesn't end when the main series comes to an end. There's endless spin-off potential for the hit Netflix property, and in fact, an animated series titled Stranger Things Tales from '85 has already been announced. Stranger Things creators Matt and Ross Duffer were on hand at the Annecy International Animation Film Festival earlier today, and they teased the upcoming animated series. According to the report from the recapping the panel, the idea for Stranger Things Tales from '85 is to invoke the feeling of an 80s cartoon, with the series also being described by the brothers as one that's both nostalgic but will work for younger audiences. Again, I think that's the balance they're going to need to find, right? Whether it's the storytelling, whether it's how this is going to look, and they might go for that full-on 80s look, but try to give it a more modern, what animation might look today. But again, you're going to be walking that fine line, trying not to alienate either side of the aisle, because you're going to have that side of the aisle that's going to love the nostalgia. They're going to love the look and feel of that 80s cartoon, and then you're going to have one that's never grew up with it, doesn't really care for it, doesn't necessarily like it, And again, they might just be interested in watching this just because they like Stranger Things. And they could be going into this expecting something completely different than what's going to be delivered, which could get them to walk away from this particular piece of the franchise. The wrap also notes, based on footage shown at the event but not uploaded online, that the series will feature high-grade computer animation from Flying Bark, who did Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So don't expect too much of a retro vibe with the animation style. Okay, so as I just literally mentioned, I think that's where they're going to try to keep some nostalgia, but at the same time try to modernize it a little bit. And again, you're walking that fine line, because you can't. It's hard to say we want to deliver on nostalgia for those of you who grew up with cartoons like this, but then not really deliver on the nostalgia. So you're really playing with fire here, again, trying not to alienate either side of your audience. Stranger Things Tales from '85 is set between Stranger Things 2 and Stranger Things 3, with the animated series expected to premiere on Netflix sometime in 2026. So this is the synopsis that they're giving us. Welcome back to Hawkins in the stark winter of 1985, where the original characters must fight new monsters and unravel a paranormal mystery terrorizing their town. And it's a quick image here, and then that's where it ends. So one thing I will mention, again, I have no context of the show, especially if this is falling in between seasons 2 and 3. I would imagine then you're gonna have to write this animated series in such a way that it is the results of what's happened in season 1 and 2 have fed into this animated series, and whatever happens in this animated series obviously leads into what's we already know has happened in seasons 3, 4, and then the final season 5. Otherwise, if you go on some other tangent, it's not going to make sense. If you start doing things in this animated series or season, if it happens to be more than one season, we'll just call it a series for now. If you happen to do something completely different in this series that's happening between those two seasons that makes things not make sense, I think your hardcore fan base is going to immediately call that out, and you're going to piss them off, because these hardcore fan bases, when it comes to shows like this, I mean, they get into the weeds, they get into the details. They're going to know if something doesn't make sense. They're going to spot it very quickly and like, wait a minute, that couldn't have happened because this is what happens in season 3, or this is what happens in season 4. So all of this couldn't be happening. So then you start thinking about, is this going to be some sort of splintered off timeline? But based on the synopsis it just said, this is happening between seasons 2 and 3. So I don't see an alternate like timeline happening. It's just something they need to be careful with. Again, I'm not one of those hardcore fans. Again, I've only seen episode 1 of season 1. So I have nothing, I have no dog in this fight when it comes to whether or not this remains, in continuity of the, first of the show in general, especially the first 2 seasons and then the seasons subsequently after. So anyways, that's going to do it for this horror news update for Stranger Things Tales from '85. We're supposed to get it sometime in 2026, but I wonder if that's going to happen, just because we know them getting the final season of Stranger Things was a huge lift and push to even get that done and ready for before the end of 2025. Now, maybe because this is animated, obviously you don't have to worry about, getting actors, scheduling, all that stuff, right? Animation can probably be much easier to do, much easier to work with. So who knows, we might actually get it in 2026. So drop a comment in the comments section. Let us know what you think. And if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next one. Later.